We've had a huge amount of stuff since Update 4 hit our saves, including changes to power, drones, new items and buildings. I've even covered a few of them in our previous videos, but one thing that I've not had chance to speak about are the new Wellsprings, and this is one of the biggest changes that we've seen to the game. And there are two reasons for this. So before we break this down, if you do like this video, please do drop a thumbs up, and obviously if you do want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Now, Wellsprings, for those of you who don't know, are a selection of new nodes that are available to us in Update 4. Now with them we receive one new resource, nitrogen, a gas, along with extra crude oil and water nodes. Each one are separate individual nodes, you don't get them all at once. This may not seem like much, but when a single node can give 1,800 resources per minute, that can greatly increase the productivity of our factories. So they're definitely worth tapping into, and yes, that does confirm that we now have fracking in game. I should also mention though that I've seen Wellsprings that can provide 1,800 resources once overclocked, but that this is dependent on the amount of satellite nodes that they have. Each Wellspring has a varied amount of satellite nodes, so some Wellsprings will be limited to less resources and others more. Now, alongside the huge amount of resources they bring us, we have nitrogen gas, a late game resource that unlocks a whole new production chain, and you can use it to produce things like nitric acid, which you'll then be using when it comes to late tier space elevator items, turbo motors and nuclear power. Now, gas brings with it new logistics that work similarly to liquids, but I'll be talking about that once we've gotten into a little more detail about the pressurizer and the extractors. The Wellspring pressurizers are unlocked in Hub Tier 8 with advanced aluminium production, costing 50 radio control units, 100 aluminium casing, 200 alclad aluminium sheets or aluminum sheets, and 3,000 wire. Quite expensive. Now, once unlocked, you can place the Wellspring pressurizers on untapped nodes. Now, the pressurizers require a further 200 wire, 50 rubber, 50 encased industrial beams, and 50 motors to run. And they also cost a total of 150 megawatts. And this may sound like a lot of power to run these nodes. I mean, 150 megawatts is the equivalent of 2 coal power plants running at full capacity. It's a lot, but at the same time, we're receiving a lot of resources in return. And specifically when you get to this stage in game, it's kind of expected that we're going to be using a lot more power. We have access to nuclear power plants. But regardless, once you've placed a pressurizer, you will need to power it in order to activate the array. And once done, the satellite nodes will become activated, and you can see this active state on the satellite nodes themselves. If you look here, you can see the steam or the resources just spurting out slightly from the little cracks in the floor. Now, each satellite node is given a node quality: impure, normal, and pure, just like the normal resource nodes that we find when we're placing miners down. Now, you will need to place the extractors on each of the individual satellite nodes, and note that the amount of satellite nodes change from node to node, like I mentioned before. These extractors cost 10 steel beams and 10 plastic, but the extractors do not need to be powered, just the pressurizer. Overclocking the node increases the amount received from each satellite node, meaning that the extractor on a pure node will give you a maximum of 300 resources per minute, up from 120, and on a normal satellite node, 150 resources up from 60, and obviously impure, 75 resources up from 30 per minute. As it's each individual satellite node which receives resources, you cannot plonk an extractor down on a single satellite node and then place a Mark II pipe and take 600 meters cubed of resources from that single satellite node. If you want to tap into all of the resources, you need to place the extractors on each individual satellite node. But once it's overclocked, you can extract the resources and use at your will for the oil and water. I shall mention that with oil and water, the extractor treats the resources exactly the same as normal pumps. They have a head lift of 10 meters. Anything above that, you'll have to add another pump to. Whereas gases, though they act similarly to liquids in pipes and are transported by pipes, they do not have a head lift requirement, so they do not need to use pumps. And it is important to remember, though, that with this being early access and gases being a new feature, that it may change at a later date. For example, they may decide to give us gas-specific buildings, which I would certainly be down for. I mean, the idea of having gas compressor stations or reinforced gas piping would be great to play around with. And whilst I'm on the subject of logistics, before we finish that point, I should also mention that gases can be transferred by train, just like fluid trains. However, if you're looking to maximize your gas transportation, your best bet is actually going to be transporting packaged nitrogen gas. Of course, this requires the use of packages to run, but will maximize your ability to transfer gas across long distances. Also, bear in mind that currently the only recipe for creating empty gas canisters is by using aluminium ingots. So, along with possible changes in the future to gas that we should be aware of, we can also probably expect an alternate recipe for that too, which I'd certainly be interested in. So the next question is probably, where are all the Wellsprings located? Well, they're located around the map. Well, as far as I can tell, there are a total of 16 resource wells on the map that we can find. You can actually see these all on the Satisfactory calculator website. Most of them are located around the central section of the map, with a few in the northern and dune desert areas. But that is all we have time for in this video, guys. If you did like it, please do remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more Satisfactory content. And as always, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our channel's supporters, most notably our Solar Eclipse patrons, The Calamity and Cerebral Tag, as well as our Lunar Eclipse patrons, Chris McCabe and Lord of July, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, Jonah Dent. Anyway, guys, until next time, as always, ciao for now.